Hey guys, welcome to the show. If you missed our last episode, you can check it out now. It was John's imagining of a sequel to The Goonies that never happened. In this episode, we're going to do something that we haven't done before. I think it's going to be fun. We're going to put five sequels into a hat and draw it at random. And then we're going to give ourselves about 30 minutes to come up with our version of that movie. It should be interesting. Let's get going. I'm sure there are some fans of these movies on Twitter. I've definitely seen people sharing love about some of these titles. So let's just jump in and we'll name what they are first. So, like I said, there's five, and the first one is Die Hard 2. And I have seen people giving that love recently on Twitter,
I
maybe
mean,
because it's
I
a Christmas
I liked it when they first
movie.
came out, It's a good action movie, but the first one is so much better. Yeah,
But when's the last time you saw it?
probably 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you rewatch Die Hard and then you watch Die Hard 2 right after it, to me, it's such a drop off. Like, I can, when it came out, I'm sure we both liked it and we were both like 12 years old, 12, 13 years
And
old.
Rennie Harlan's a good action director. But it would
Well,
just
he can
didn't have
be. I mean, but if it
Long Kiss
just,
Goodnight.
my memory of the last time I saw it, and it's been a number of years, but um, just the technical craftsmanship is a step down, I think. The
Well,
cinematography is kinda
Jan de
bland.
Bont was the DP on the first one.
Yeah. So whoever shot part 2 is step down,
Oh god.
uh,
Who was it? I don't know. Oh
and,
god, I don't even have that one.
the action is pedestrian, I think. Like, nothing compares to, the inventiveness of the original. But
Yeah.
anyway, I think that would be a fun one to, remake. Next is, Indiana Jones 4 or The
The
Curse
Crystal
of the
Skull.
Crystal no,
Crystal
just
Skull. Yeah.
and the Crystal Skull.
Is that No, it's
Uh,
The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
they can't see
Yeah, Indiana Jones and the
how
Kingdom of the
well was
Crystal
it done.
Skull.
Now
Yeah,
I think for
that one
this
was not
one on
great.
Twitter, I've seen people, you know, some people liked part 5, some didn't, but on Twitter, I've seen people say, "Well, Crystal Skull wasn't really a good movie, but technically, it's got some Spielberg-isms that are better than what was in part 5." I think they're just
Oh,
kind of saying, on a technical level, as far as, like, say, how the action scenes are shot and edited together, it's better than Mangold, which in a way is
y
I think is probably fair, right? Because it's Spielberg, uh,
yes. Yeah,
but that doesn't erase the stupidity of it all,
mistakes were made
right?
in the yeah.
Like, on a technical level, I'm sure a Spielberg movie like that is gonna be operating on a higher level than Mangold, but, when I think back of, like, the Shia LaBeouf swinging through the vines like Tarzan with the
With the Tarzan
monkeys and
expect.
everything.
I mean,
Just just
I definitely like 5 more than 4.
yeah, I
5
like
felt more
5
like,
overall
it was
more.
yeah, overall more. Not the ending, not the 3rd act, but the first 2 acts, yeah, I liked it more.
I felt yeah, and I think I read that Mangold really tried to make it feel like a natural successor to Raiders, just
Mhm.
like the tone and everything. Okay, number 3, RoboCop 2, which I kinda feel like Die Hard 2 at the time, was just kinda okay, uh, it's RoboCop and there's some funny bits in there. Um,
Sir Tom
but if
Noonan,
you
of
compare it
course.
to the original,
Yes.
right?
Oh yeah.
Good actors.
Yep.
But if you compare it to, especially if you watch them in one right after the other, you see the drop off in general. I think, like the original, of course,
Yes.
one of my favorite movies, but part two just lacks the wit, the style, the
Like
craftsmanship.
it still has the, the send up of modern society. It still has that
Mm.
stuff. But and like
I guess
they
it feels more like an imitation than, you know,
yes.
than a real continuation of the
And
original.
and I guess also what they did with RoboCop with Alex Murphy in the second one, they didn't really give him much to do. He was just he didn't have an arc in that movie that I remember.
Yeah, I saw online somebody brought up how in the beginning they say, well, he's been stalking his wife, right? And trying to reconnect with that part of his past. And
Uh-huh.
then the lawyers come in and start grilling him, and then right away he turns and he tells the wife that he's dead, and not to you know that's the
Yeah,
end of it basically
and
for
that
his
feels like it.
character. And
Right.
that's still the
That's
beginning of the movie.
yeah, and that should have been his arc for the second movie was
Mhm.
probably either rekindling with his wife and son, not I mean, he's not really a man anymore, but have some part of their life or letting them go, or at least letting his wife
Right.
go and stop stalking her, be happy for her that
Yeah.
she's maybe remarried or something. But that could have been interesting, and that should
Coming
have
to
been
grips. Yeah.
yeah.
Like the end, like the very end of that. Well, maybe I should not, in case that we pull that one out of the hat. Let's
Okay,
go
all
to
right.
number 4, Alien 3, which I
David
think was
Fincher's.
universally panned when it came out.
I mean, it was just a total letdown after the first two excellent movies, and especially after the second one, where you have this kind of family unit of Ripley, Newt, and Michael Bean's character. What was his character's name? Hicks, Hudson. Which one was he?
Hicks.
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 Um, and then you kill off Hicks and Newt off screen in the prologue of Alien 3. No one wants to see that. Alien 3 should have come out
Mhm.
like, well, it should have really been released basically around the time Alien 3 was, which was 1992. But you could have just done some kind of time jump where Newt is a little older now, or you recast Newt. But it's just like having them be killed off was so dark, and then killing off Ripley at the end of Alien 3 was no one wanted to see that. It's kind of shocking that that was the script. I know they came up with dozens of scripts for Alien 3, and that was the one they went with. Bold
So I
choice.
read, and I don't know if it's true that the only way to get Sigourney Weaver back was they had to kill her off.
Ugh, that
Obviously,
makes no
she
sense.
changed her mind, right? Because
Yeah,
they they brought her back later,
yeah.
but maybe maybe she was forcing their hand on that one. I don't know. And number 5, Predator 2.
Predator
A lot of these
2.
movies,
Okay.
uh, Predator 2, RoboCop 2, Die Hard 2, I wanna say they all came out in 1990.
That was a good
But
year.
anyway, Predator 2, I think that Predator 2 fits with the other 2 movies in that it was fine at the time.
Mhm.
Um, there is certainly a novelty to a sequel for those movies, but in
And there was
hindsight
something
now.
about having it in a city as opposed to, the urban jungle. That was a cool idea that worked for me. at the time, and the action was okay. There was some good set pieces in the third act. Um, Danny Glover versus the Predator,
Mm.
but it also kind of
And I
feels
like
a
Danny
little bit,
Glover.
yes, but like Predator 2 felt kind of like they went the RoboCop way. Like they were doing a send up of near future Los Angeles society and making it seem utterly ridiculous. And the first movie was so grounded, and it's a science fiction movie because you have an alien. But it was just, soldiers, super elite soldiers going into a jungle and having to deal with this, science fiction creature. And it felt more real and or more grounded. And then the second one was crazy, but I did like it.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
God!
sure
So like
people, they're
for that
fans of
one, are
this
we are we
movie
gonna
too.
have Schwarzenegger star in the if we get that one?
I would. I would,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
'cause it imagine Die Hard 2 without Bruce Willis or RoboCop 2 without Peter Weller, right? All of us, you're
Right.
you're starting with a handicap, a major handicap, right? So I've got the magic hat with the 5.
I'm honestly dreading this.
Alright. So the movie we're going to pitch our remake, Indiana
Yeah.
Jones 4.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay,
That's fine. That's fine. Because that,
and
oh, I got it. That's the one I hated the most out of
so
all
this is
those. Thank God.
so and it's timely since part 5 came out recently. So I've thought about this movie or what it could have been a little bit. So I would just say I think well let's when do you think this movie should have been made? Because I'll
Okay.
start with I'll tell you when I think.
So Indiana
Instead of
Jones and the
making
Last Crusade came out in 1989.
yeah.
So
So I
this
think
what?
I think instead of making The Lost World, which I think we both agreed pretty much sucked, and that was 97, I think. Spielberg should have made this movie because Ford was I think was The Fugitive 94 or 95, something like that. Uh, so he was still a really big star, you know?
Yeah.
So, I think 97 would have been a good time to make this movie if,
Could have made
you
it
know.
in 1991.
Yeah, but I think given the trajectory, the fact that they really weren't planning this movie, right? I think the 3 of them pretty much said that was it.
Right.
Indiana Jones riding off into the sunset. So, I would say 97, and that's what, 8 years
8 years
after,
later. Yeah.
and I think Indiana Jones and Last Crusade was set in '38. So, this
Right.
would take us to, like, 1946, so let's they
You wouldn't
fudge
want to set it
timelines in
during
movies.
you wouldn't want to set it during World War II?
Well, yeah, since they fudge timelines, I'd say, yeah, it's gonna be mid-40s, and I think during the war would make sense. Just like they opened up Dial of Destiny during the war.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
and
see
then
if he starts if it's during the war, then the Nazis can be the bad guys again, which in the first movie and the third movie the Nazis are the bad guys and those are the best movies, right?
mm,
I like Temple of Doom, but it's not as good.
they could, but let me pitch you on this idea.
Okay?
Since they did Nazis, full-on Nazis in Crusade, I was thinking
Mhm.
they can make the Japanese Imperial Army the bad guys, right? Kind of the
Okay.
another Axis
Good.
power.
Yep.
And the movie could be set in mainland China, because it's full of, artifacts from thousands of years ago.
That's true.
Um, so it's like maybe he was there when the war broke out, and
Doing
so now the
archaeology. Yep.
yeah, so it's just kind of like the same thing where now there's this, the MacGuffin is this Chinese artifact, mystical artifact, and now the
Mhm.
Japanese Imperial Army are after him to gain control of it. So it's really the same situation. It's just in the other
Yeah.
part of the world.
And whatever, there could be a couple Nazis with the Japanese that are after Jones because Hitler wants the artifact as well because it has great power, or supposedly is going to have great power. The only thing I would say is,
Yeah.
setting it in China, is that so the first movie is the Ark of the Covenant, and the third one is the Holy Grail. It could
Mm,
We could also keep it a Judeo-Christian artifact again. But do you have something? Do like so what we need is the MacGuffin. We need the artifact and what it does. Do you have anything?
right. No, but I see. I don't think it has to be another.
Christian,
I don't think it has to be another
Jewish thing?
Judeo-Christian artifact, especially if it's set in China and there's, those artifacts and tombs and are, thousands and thousands of years old.
Yep,
Why
that's
not
true.
just, oh, and also setting it in mainland China, you could bring Short Round back, but now he's a young man. I
Ooh,
don't know how you feel about that.
I like that idea.
Like he could come back as his sidekick again.
How old would he be? How old was the um
Yeah.
what
So
was it?
this would
Ki
be
Hu Kwan? Ki
13
Ho
years.
Kwan? So he'd be like 20
He
something?
got
25?
13 this is 13 years after Temple, so he'd be mid-20s, let's say.
Mid-20s, okay. And what city does it
Um,
start in? Is it start in like Shanghai or something? Because he's in Shanghai in two, right? Does Temple of Doom
yeah,
start
I
in
think so.
Shanghai?
Yeah,
Yeah, so we could
I
start in
think it's
Shanghai
Shanghai.
again. All
Yeah.
right, but what's our MacGuffin? Is it because my
Well, so
knowledge
I
of
think
Chinese
yeah, right.
artifacts isn't great. We're just gonna come up fake
Well,
something.
just like those I know that just like the Egyptian pharaohs have those grand tombs, that the
Hmm.
Chinese emperors have grand tombs filled with the artifacts
Riches.
and,
Uh huh.
we see you've seen it in, like, The Mummy Part 3. Uh,
Right, when it's
there's the Chinese emperor and all the
and
what do
all
you call
the
the,
terracotta warriors.
yeah, the terracotta warriors, and, I just read the other day, I don't know if it's true, but one of those tombs with all the terracotta warriors, they haven't fully excavated it yet because there's a high concentration of mercury
Oh.
and it's highly toxic. So and they
Hmm.
haven't figured out yet how are we going to excavate without destroying the artifacts and getting people sick, basically.
Mm.
Um, but anyway, it could be setting it like, oh, he has to go through the emperor's tomb. It gives us all the booby traps and everything
Yes.
too.
All right. So there's this this
And
this lost emperor's tomb with all of these
yeah,
riches, and Indiana Jones in 1943. He's in Shanghai, not working for the U.S. government. He never joined the army because he doesn't like those governmental top men. He's just an archaeologist. He's in Shanghai and he has a lead on finding this lost emperor's tomb. Um, and inside the lost emperor's tomb, great riches, all this gold and silver and all this gems, precious gems. But there's also this one MacGuffin thing that is supposedly has supernatural powers. So
Mm.
that and that the Japanese military, the Empire of Japan wants, the Nazis probably want it too, and maybe even the Americans, the Allies want it. But Indiana Jones, he doesn't believe in the supernatural stuff, even though he's seen some supernatural stuff. You know, it's he's still that rational thinking, the scholar, that he's just trying to find this lost tomb because of the historical implications, how important it is, and uh, but what is it? What's it gonna do? Some kind of weapon?
Yeah, some kind of weapon, right? Because that's why the army would want it. But I
Right.
just thought of something.
Okay.
Um, as far as trying to give him an arc in this
Okay.
movie, um, if you remember Raiders, he picks up Marion from Nepal.
Oh yeah.
So
Right.
it's possible that Marion's gone back to that part of the world. So that
Okay.
could be a natural way to bring her back,
Okay.
which they obviously did in Crystal Skull, but they bring her back. Um, and then what if we introduced another love interest so we'd have a triangle and
Okay.
his arc is gonna be either falling back in love with Marion and ending up with her or,
And settling
you know,
down.
realizing that yeah, realizing that, you know, it was her all along and whatnot, which is I guess that's what they did in Crystal Skull, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I was thinking, yeah, you mentioned how Jones probably wouldn't be, you know, a soldier in the war.
Right.
But what if since he's operating over there, he comes across the CIA or whatever, the precursor spies,
Uh huh.
American spies? So there's this American female spy who's trying to recruit him or work with them or whatever, and she could
Hmm.
be that love interest to create the triangle.
Okay. That's
And it
good.
could be, you know, I don't some kind of star from the 90s, like
Michelle Pfeiffer.
yeah, but I was just thinking, he made that movie Ford made that movie 40 Days, 40 Nights. Wasn't that late 90s?
Late
And it
90s.
it was Anne Hesh,
Anne Hesh. I don't know if she'd be a big
so
enough
s it
star,
could be
but
someone
she
like her,
could be.
you know, because it wouldn't obviously be like Julia Roberts, right? It wouldn't be some huge star.
S- That's true. Yeah. Um, and bringing back short round, what it could be is, so he's just been going around the world, going from one dig to the next, and meeting a new woman every couple of years and having a romance, and then, oh, now I got to go to China to dig up some old bones. And so he has all these kind of jilted lovers, and he's not ready to settle down, right? And that could be it. And then when Short Round shows up, he's like, "Oh yeah, I haven't seen Short Round in 10 years. And I left him in a good place, whatever, but Short Round's angry at him too. You know, Marion's like, you left me, Short Round's, you left me." And then you have the CIA agent who's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. We need you. The U.S. government needs you to find this thing before the Japanese, before the Nazis." Um, and she's kind of like, if he falls back into that routine, then he'll find this artifact, and maybe he'll, whatever, kind of fall in love or fall in lust with this new woman, and then he'll be on to the next place. And the CIA agent is like, "That's fine, because that's what I do too." And the the arc is that he gets tempted by that, but then he realizes, I really love, I I am lonely, and I do need other people, and I need a family, and I miss Marion, and I miss Short Round. And so at the end of the movie, whatever, there's some kind of weird family unit where him and Marion are together. Short Round now, whatever, lives in wherever he's from, Connecticut. Where is he from? Where's his? Yeah, is it New York? Where, like, where's the, in the first two, in the first movie and the
Right.
third movie, like, where does he live? Where's the, where's the university he
I
works
don't
at? Illinois? I have no
I don't
idea.
I don't think they say. I always just thought New England,
It's New England
but,
somewhere.
um
And so the end of the movie, they're kind of a family unit. Not that, Short Round, he's not adopting Short Round, but maybe Marion's pregnant in the prologue,
well, I
and Short
think
Round's coming over for dinner, Sunday
you
roast.
probably won't like this.
Oh
You
God,
probably won't like this,
we're
but
gonna kill
I
Short
think
Round.
the end of
How
Act
much?
2,
Yeah. Oh, low
the
point.
bad guy,
Yeah.
who's like this Japanese officer or whatever, right?
Hmm.
He kills Short Round, and, that's like killing his son, right?
Yes.
But that would definitely steer him towards marrying and, you know, going off to have a family after that.
Right. Oh my,
Yeah,
that's
plus,
dark. I mean,
that's dark, but consequences, right? These
yes.
movies, they tend to not.
The end of the second act
Like,
is what I call the low point, and that's where the main character is at his lowest point. And sometimes that means his love interest gets kidnapped. Sometimes it means his love interest gets killed. And the worse a low point is, the better as a storytelling device. So killing off Short Round. Okay, so we're going to kill off Short Round as the low point. That ends the second act.
yeah, but we can make it a sacrifice, though.
Okay.
So Short
Yeah, he doesn't
Round
just get shot in the head or something.
sacrifices himself. Right. He
Okay.
sacrifices himself to save. I don't know,
Indy
maybe
and
would he
Marion.
actually be saving their, or okay, both of their lives?
Yeah,
Um, but obviously it's the bad guy who's put them in this situation.
right.
Um,
And Indy has put
okay.
himself in this situation because he's listened to the CIA. He he didn't he didn't believe in this crazy MacGuffin, whatever it is, which we haven't figured out yet, and he didn't really want to do this. Um, and he's put himself in this situation as well. Obviously, the bad guy has really created the, Short Round's need to sacrifice himself. It's like the second act's about to end, and Indiana Jones and Marion are about to die, and then Short Round sacrifices himself to save Indy and Marion, and then the third act starts, and he's like, all right, I need revenge against the bad guy. I have to find the artifact. I have to save myself and Marion. And then the prologue is they're they're together, they're married, she's pregnant, and they're thinking of like baby ideas, and they name their baby after Short Round, whatever Short Round's real name is.
Yeah, and that would, yeah, I'll buy that. And
Okay.
so, yeah, it would be his real name, which we've never heard, right?
Right.
Before. And we wouldn't have heard until now too, so that I think that would be like a touching note to end on.
They could
Um,
even be holding the baby. It's instead of like she's pregnant, it's like she's in the hospital bed holding the little, baby Indiana Jones. And she's like, look, it's whatever Short Round's real name is. That's touching.
hung
That's nice. Spielberg could do
mm,
wonders with that. Um,
say
okay, but what's
little
the
hung
what's the
well.
artifact? Did you just say hung well?
You're like, hung well Jones.
uh,
No. No.
It'd be like Quan or something, you know?
You know what it should be is he says it and it's, some obviously Chinese sounding name. Uh, I can't I can't think of a good one off the top of my head, but she's they say it or she says it, it's a Chinese name, but then he says what it means, and it means something, good.
Good heart. It means yeah. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. That would be
Uh-huh.
nice.
Mhm.
Uh, and I just thought of something which I don't know why we missed it up until this point.
Okay.
Sean Connery, because
Oh,
if
yeah.
they made it in '97, there's a good chance of having him back for something. So
Yes.
I think that rather though than just repeat part 3 and have him there the whole time,
Mhm.
what if the prologue, which is, sometimes separated from the main
Yep.
story, the prologue has Sean Connery in it again. So it's kinda
Okay.
like they're having a mini adventure unrelated to the rest of the movie, but after
Mhm.
that, it's kinda like we know that this is dad's last adventure, right? Like, he's
Okay.
he's just at that age where he wants to stay home after this, but, uh, I
He
think
doesn't
that would be
die. We
nice.
don't kill off Sean Connery in the prologue or anything.
And yeah, and also it's a way to shoehorn, Sallah in there, if
Oh, yeah,
and
because
maybe,
Salah's not gonna be in I mean,
Marcus
Salah
Brody.
could be in,
Yeah,
um
well,
but that's true,
rather
but it's
than,
still
like,
like
bring
in
him in at the end or whatever, they're
right.
having an adventure, and it includes Sallah, and it includes Marcus Brody, the 4 of them, basically, because
It's in
'cause they're
Morocco
not
or
gonna be in
something.
mainland China. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
They're on some adventure and it goes well and they get this artifact, whatever, but it's there's no supernatural stuff to it. It's just this an action sequence. And Sean Connery, Henry Jones Sr. is like, well, this is my last adventure. I'm going home. And then he could walk in the hospital scene with the baby. I want to meet my baby, my
Yes.
grandson. Yeah.
Yes, maybe during the prologue, Connery's needling him kinda like, "You're not getting any younger. When are
When are you
you
going to
gonna
settle
have
down? When are you going to settle
when are you
down?
gonna give me
And
a grandchild?"
right. Indiana Jones, like, never. I love this. This is what I like to do. Go
Right.
from city to city, country to country, dig site to dig site. This is my life. This is what I want. And then throughout the plot of Acts 1 and 2, he will, and 3, he will realize, no, I do miss Marion. I am still in love with her. I do want to settle down. I do want a family, especially after Short Round sacrifices himself and dies. Okay, but we
Hmm.
still need a MacGuffin. Okay,
Well, I don't
what about like a
I
laser
was
gun? Wait, but no. Do you have
what?
anything?
Well, I was trying to remember, I know that in years past, our good friend Corey, he sent me a link to some kinda artifact like that and was like, "Oh, this would be good for Indiana Jones." And I
What is
don't
it? Do you
quite
remember?
remember what it no, but it was something like, it was something cheesy, kinda like the Sword of Destiny, something like that. So it'd be like let's say it's the Emperor's sword. So it's an actual weapon, and
Okay.
it can I don't know, since this is during World War II and we know how things are gonna end, if we say, "Oh, it has the power of," you know,
The sun.
basically has the power of an atomic bomb, maybe.
Mm.
Um, so, getting it out of the hands of the Japanese would be
Oh,
would be
so
good.
right.
So they can
Um,
I don't
what like a sword? Um, but then it should have like two things. It should like so the Ark of the Covenant is important because of uh, religious and historical um, importance, but the Israelites used it to defeat their enemies. Like I can't remember, they walked around Jericho 6 times, 7 times with it, and then the walls of Jericho fell down. Um, but it's also where they believed God lived, in the temple.
Hmm.
That's where like he sat. Um,
We're down to 9 minutes already.
okay, all right. So it doesn't even
So,
matter.
right. I
It's
think
the
that what
emperor's, the
else would
lost
we like to
emperor's
see?
tomb and sword. Okay, so we,
Mhm.
we have our prologue. The
Right.
inciting incident is Indiana Jones is in Shanghai looking for something else, and a, an American spy, comes to him and says the Empire of Japan has sent archaeologists into the Gobi Desert to find
Mhm.
the lost tomb of this lost emperor of China,
Someone's yeah.
and they believe the story of the emperor's golden sword that has the power to, like, she can show him like these old scrolls, right, like an illustration of this guy holding a sword, and light sources are coming out, um and people are turning to ash. Oh man, we're really going with the but hey, it kind of makes sense. The Japanese want an atomic bomb before it gets used on them. um
Obviously, you're gonna have the Chinese be part of the good the good guys, right? So,
yes, because they get
would it
invaded.
make sense he meets the he meets Short Round along the way, who's helping the rebels, basically.
Yes,
So and that they become part of the good faction of, trying to get to the artifact before the
on the
Japanese.
race to the dig site, and they get
Mhm.
to the dig site, and um oh no, we need to introduce Marion. So like near the end
Mhm.
of the first act, Indiana Jones is okay. I'm going to go with the Anhech, CIA agent, to the Gobi Desert, and he's bumped into Short Round and Short Round's rebels, let's call them. And but Marion, she she's been living in China even before, or at least Mongolia, for a long time. And her father, uh, what was her father's name? Indiana Jones' old teacher,
Ravenwood.
Raven, last name Ravenwood. I can't
Ravenwood.
remember his first name. Yeah, it was Marion
Abner.
Ravenwood. Abner, that's it. That Abner had, bad version. He had a diary. He had a Grail diary, but for this sword. Um, so basically, he needs Marion, and he goes to Marion, and they have a big fight because she left. He left her again to go adventuring, and he's like, "Well, I need it. I need your help to go on this one last adventure." And
Yeah, I think it makes sense that Marion would end up being, let's just say, an antique dealer, right?
okay,
Because
all right. Instead
of
of a
her
bar owner
her
this time,
connection to her father. Yeah.
yeah.
Now she has these she sells buys and sells precious antiques, and she has the thing that he needs. Maybe it's
I
to
know we're
locate the tomb.
maybe it's a map. It's
Something
not.
yeah,
It's
something
not
like that.
so. So they all are together, the CIA agent, Marion, Short Round, Indy, and they get to the dig site at the Gobi Desert, and the Japanese archaeologists have already uncovered, like, the entrance to the tomb,
Mhm.
to the Golden Tomb, and our characters have to either find it a different way into the tomb or sneak their way in to the tomb. But either way, second act is going to have set pieces, action set pieces, um, where our crew are being chased or attacked by um, Japanese soldiers or an archaeologist, and then there's also going to be the tomb itself. There's going to be uh, booby traps, um, and they're going through the tomb, going deeper and deeper, and we see all this cool stuff and really cool uh, set pieces, like maybe terracotta soldiers. These two terracotta soldiers are guarding this door, and there's a bunch of dead Japanese soldiers, and it's like these terracotta things won't let them in. And but it's like, well, what are they doing? Because Indiana Jones and his crew show up, and there's just dead guys, and like, what's happening? And it's because these terracotta soldiers are like animatronic. They slash down swords, and maybe even they start walking. Um, it's not supernatural. They're robots basically, and they have to get through there. And our low point, end of the second act, our low point is well, at this point we've really met like our main antagonist, who's going to be this Japanese James Bond, not James Bond, Indiana Jones, right? That'd be kind of cool. Instead of him being a soldier, or maybe he's a soldier, maybe the Japanese Indiana Jones has joined the Japanese army, and like he could wear a hat too and a leather jacket. That'd be kind of fun, unless you have something better. But either way,
Which
Indiana Jones and Marion are about to die, and the Anne Hesh character, maybe she's like, because she's a spy, she's escaped, or maybe she's betraying Indiana Jones. Um,
yeah, we could say that's the way to bring in the Nazis again is if she's actually a Nazi spy,
she's
not
actually a Nazi spy, and
like a double
Hitler doesn't
agent or
want to piss
something.
off. Yeah, like Hitler doesn't want to piss off the Japanese, but he wants the sword for himself. That's
Mhm.
good.
So
And
so she brings in a small group of Nazis
of
into the
Nazis,
mix.
yeah,
Yeah.
which are now they're everyone's chasing our team, and so either way, they get maybe they find the sword, they find the Emperor's sword, and but if you lift it out of its thing, the room's going to collapse or start collapsing, and then the bad guys show up with guns, and everyone's like, "Oh, okay, you got us." And the Japanese Indiana Jones guy is like, "All right, I'm gonna take the sword now," and he takes the sword, and everything starts collapsing, and Marion and Indiana Jones are about to die, and then Short Round comes to the rescue, but in so doing, he sacrifices himself and he dies. Um, but our two characters they get out of that room, the chamber that's collapsing. They escape, but the Japanese Indiana Jones, he's escaped with the sword, and Hesh's CIA Nazi double agent, she's also escaped. And then so our climax is Indiana Jones and Marion have to get the sword back from the Japanese while the Nazis are trying to get it. And we have an amazing car chase, Spielberg action sequence, and what's the ending?
So you were saying that they're being chased by the Japanese and the Germans, right?
No, now in the third act, they're trying to get the sword back, so they're chasing the
Oh,
Japanese
okay.
Indiana Jones who has the sword, and the Nazis are also chasing the Japanese. So it's this big, long, extended chase scene that ends with Indiana Jones hand to hand fighting the Japanese Indiana Jones, and they're both struggling with the sword, and that's when we see the sword's actual power. And
Mhm.
maybe
Okay, then
maybe the Japanese Indiana Jones. Okay, what do you got?
could this be happening on the water, like, as they're crossing, uh,
Yeah,
what
on
is it called?
boats.
The
Great.
sea?
Yeah, it's a boat chasing.
They're crossing the sea basically to get back to Japan, right? So, they're
Okay, sure.
Indiana Jones is, like, fighting them on a battleship or something somehow. Or
Okay.
maybe not a battleship because that maybe there'd be too many bad guys, but something like that. It's a boat chase kind of thing, and,
Hmm.
I like that idea that, obviously we have to see what it can actually do and how powerful it is and destructive so
Right.
that in the end, I think this would also be new for him in a way, is that once he's defeated the bad guys and he's actually got the sword now, instead of being like, well, this is going to go in the museum or to the government who screwed me over in the past, he's just going to be like, this is too much power for anyone to have. So he
Okay.
drops it in the ocean.
And that informs his character development, that he's
Yeah.
always going from one dig to one dig to one dig, finding the artifact and bringing it back to museum. And this time, okay, right here, the Japanese Indiana Jones, he's got the sword, he's on a speedboat, and Indiana Jones is chasing him in his own speedboat. And then Nazi Anne Hesh and her Nazis come up in a bigger boat, and the Japanese guy aims the sword at the bigger boat, and it just like gets
Mm.
like it incinerates. And we just
Yeah, like,
dashed.
yeah,
And so
like,
that's how we kill
we,
off our Nazis and then and
yeah,
the the undercover CIA whatever double agent. And then
there,
Indiana Jones,
there's
he
like
jumps
three
aboard. There's a
U-boats or
struggle.
something.
Yes, something giant, and it's like they just get
Yeah,
incinerated, and it's
right.
like holy, this is too dangerous. And um the villain, the Japanese villain, he gets killed off. Maybe by Marion. Maybe this time Marion kind of saves Indiana Jones, and
Mm.
she's like, "What are you going to do with it now? Are you going to bring it back? Is it going in a museum? Are you going to put it back in the tomb?" And he says, "This is too dangerous," and he drops it off the boat, and it sinks, and we follow it sinking, 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 and it goes into utter darkness. And then
Right.
we cut to whatever a year later, and Sean Connery's hurrying up some steps, and he's in a hospital, and he's hurrying down the thing, and he comes into the room, and there's little baby Indiana Jones and happy married Marion and Harrison Ford and Indy, and oh, what's the little lad's name? And he's named
Mhm.
after a short round. That's great. That's a 3 act
I
movie.
think
I know we went over the 30 minutes by, I don't know, maybe we did 40 minutes. Um, but that works. It is
I think
derivative of the first movie and the third movie.
but I think, well, yes, but if it was just filled with those great set pieces,
That
it
we
wouldn't
know Harrison
matter.
Ford can do. Yep.
Yeah,
Not
but,
Spielberg.
I think one alteration I'd make is there's the prologue, and we are saying that takes place, like, in Africa or something,
Hmm.
but then when the actual movie starts, I'd wanna put him, like, in a tropical environment somewhere in Southeast Asia, so, like, he's in the Philippines or something,
Okay.
and he's there for some other reason, for some other artifact or whatever,
Or a
and
conference or
that's when
something.
he gets, like, an SOS call
Okay.
from Short Round in China, and that's what takes him there. something like that.
Okay.
Instead of just happening, come instead of like some coincidental thing where he comes upon short round, it's more like he's calling him for help. Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
then
that's
did we say that would be not long after the prologue, I guess.
yeah.
But did we
No, we go
say
from the
he has
prologue
to
to him in yeah, on some dig in the Philippines, and he gets a letter, come to Shanghai immediately. I need you. I need my old friend. And he goes, and it's short rounds. And short round was kind of angry at him for leaving him or whatever. Well, I've left you with your uncle or something. Um,
Mhm,
and he's like, I need you to meet this woman, and this is the spy, the American spy, and she's working with the Chinese rebels to stop the Japanese from finding this
mhm.
artifact.
If
And he's
if
like,
we
oh,
did
we
it
need
that
it's
way
the yeah.
if we did it that way too, it'd be good. It'd be a good way of introducing us to the rival archaeologists, the Japanese archaeologists,
Hmm.
because Jones meets him in the Philippines and knows who he is already. And maybe they have a bit of a rivalry, bit of
But they also have rapport
antagonistic
too,
relationship.
right?
Right,
But
but it
it's
isn't
like,
until later where it's actually now I'm gonna kill you, you know?
yeah, uh-huh.
So that'd be good. Um, and then did we say that he was
Who's
gonna
the Japanese star? Who's the Japanese villain? Who's the star? Like Toshiro
um,
Mifune? Is he too old at that time?
I think
That'd be pretty cool.
by then, somebody maybe like an up
Somebody
and
a little
coming
younger.
star.
Yeah. Someone really
Yeah.
handsome,
Um,
charismatic. And
is
he's a
he
digger.
picking Marion is he picking Marion up in the Himalayas or something?
No, let's say she's wherever
Sh
short round is, she's in another Chinese city. Because, like, well, if we're looking for that, the lost tomb of the lost emperor, I need Abner Ravenwood's diary.
Mhm.
Although that's totally derivative of the third movie, but you know what I mean. I have to go see Marion before. I don't want to, but
Maybe
we
if
have
she
to.
was in Hong Kong. Yeah.
Okay.
Hong Kong
Yep,
would
that's
make
fine.
sense for having a yeah.
And the CIA,
Um,
the Anahesh character is like, no, 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 let's just go to the thing. He's like, no, we need this. We have to go. We have to go to see an old friend. And we cut to do the
mhm,
map, the plane or boat to Hong Kong, and he walks into this cool old uh, antique store, and she's there, and they get in a big
mhm.
argument, and then the Japanese soldiers or spies show up, and there's an action sequence, and then it's like, well, I guess we're partners again. That's good,
Yes, definitely some kinda action sequence that throws them together right away.
right?
Um, and
And then
he's
there's
like, "Just like old times."
just like old times, and right off the bat, and Hesh and Marion are uh, arguing, or maybe they both gang up on Indiana Jones. Um, and then Indy and the American spy, they even kiss or something, and Marion sees it, and downcast face, leaves the room. I can't believe this jerk. He just goes from port to woman to woman to artifact, and all that really matters is the artifact. And then
Hmm,
throughout the plot of the movie, he learns, no, the artifact is not as important as the people I love, my family.
hmm.
I'm ready to settle down.
I like that. I think it would have been much better, right, than Crystal Skull.
There was just so many. I mean, honestly, it's what Crystal Skull tried to do. I, it didn't work, and adding aliens into it, I didn't like. Um, or whatever they were, interdimensional beings.
Right.
Um, there was a Frank Darabont wrote a draft for Indiana Jones 4, and it was Atlantis, the lost city of Atlantis. Indiana Jones, I think, racing against time, against the Nazis again, underwater temples and stuff. Um, I've never read the script. I've never found it. I'd love to read it. Probably should have gone with that one instead of Crystal Skull.
Well, would it piss fans off if the prologue was the fate of Atlantis, like, but you're just seeing the very end, you know? So it's kind of like it's a
I
wink
mean, it's
to
cool. It'd be a cool it'd be a cool sequence,
right.
especially when you add Sean Connery and Sala somehow.
I mean, it'd be fun. Um,
Hmm.
it'd be like 20 minutes long or something, probably.
Or even when,
Um,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, how long is the prologue in the third movie? It's long. When we're with, young Indiana Jones, River
right.
Phoenix, it probably is 20 minutes, and that's fine with me.
Mhm.
Honestly, the prologue in number five, what's number five even called? Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Um, that prologue is long. It's great.
Yeah. Let's just do this. So we're gonna
Okay.
call this movie Indiana Jones and
The
let's just fill that part with the time.
the the last
Whatever.
the the Tomb of the Lost Emperor. The Tomb of the Lost Emperor. Indiana Jones and the Tomb of the Lost Emperor. It's too long. Indiana
That was a little
Jones.
generic.
Well,
All right, so that was Indiana Jones and blank. Indiana
Indiana
Jones
Jones
and
4.
the movie to be named later.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know if you guys have your own ideas of what it should be called. Let us know in the comments. But in the next episode, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to imagine a prequel. So, not a sequel, but a prequel to a movie that we love that was never made. Hope you're enjoying the show. Hope you come back.